Okay, 262 Heavy, wind calm, runway 31 left, clear for takeoff, caution wake turbulence, previous departure, Heavy 777.
Hello and welcome aboard and welcome to Lechfeld, Germany. I think that's Lechfeld? Whatever. We're in Germany. We're here in our Messerschmitt Me262, the world's first operational jet-powered fighter. Why are we in Lechfeld with this aircraft? We're in Lechfeld with this aircraft. Ooh, that's a loud aircraft. Because the first test wing was based here. So, important, thing to be. Design work for this aircraft was actually started before World War II began, but engine problems prevented the aircraft from attaining operational status with the Luftwaffe until mid-1944. Let's get in our aircraft. Let's get off our gauges here. Shoot. Okay, as far as we can go. Well, it's not the best. Let's be honest, it's not the best, but it's also not terrible. We do have flaps. Go. Wow, we have a lot of flap. You might even say the aircraft is very flappy. Alright, we don't need quite that much, but we are going to need a good bit. I do know this. The Me262 influenced the design of post-war aircraft, such as the North American F-86 Sabre, the Boeing B-47 Stratojet. The Sabre itself, I actually was watching a program where they discussed the fact that if the Sabre, as it originally conceived, had been built, it would have not been a very good fighter. It was conceived as a straight-wing jet. But then when they were evaluating the 262, they realized, wait, swept wing is better. So then they swept the wing on the F-86, and that sweep is what gave the F-86 its power over the MiG-15. All right. Are we going to take this guy off? I don't know. One problem with the 262 when it was originally designed, the original conventional gear, before it was a tricycle, it was a conventional gear, which meant it was a tail dragger. Well, that caused the jet exhaust to deflect off the runway, and the turbulence negated the effect of your elevators. So in order to take off, the first test pilot actually had to tap his brakes, and it brought the tail up and pulled the tail out of the jet exhaust and allowed the aircraft to take off. All right, let's try to take off. So I'm going to stand on the brakes, and I'm going to run up my two Junker Zumo 004 B1 turbojets. Now look at how slow those RPMs come up. Today a jet comes up pretty fast. Well, these early turbojets took forever to come up to power. This actually becomes important later on. These are producing 1,980 pounds of thrust. All right, we're at what we conceivably call full thrust. Brakes off. Here we go. I'm nervous about taking this aircraft to the skies. Even when the engines were completed, and part of the reason they took so long to complete is the absence of valuable rare metals to make the aircraft withstand the heat of those engines. Ooh, here we go. Look at that. Can I take off? No. Ooh. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. You want to fly. Oh, here we go. Yeah. There. Let's get those flaps up. Come on, keep flying, baby. Get in the aircraft. There.
Don't sink.
I'm not going to sink. Be quiet. Leave me alone. Its behavior right now where it's rolling to the left there, that's not me. I actually have to stick in neutral position.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
Ooh, whoa. Very twitchy aircraft right there. I'm going to throttle her down just slightly. Alright, there we go. So the absence of the rare metals that were required caused the delay in the engines. Even when they were completed, they had an expected operational lifetime of 50 continuous flight hours. However, most 004s lasted just 12 hours, even with adequate maintenance. So ridiculously low flight time before you needed to replace your engines. And the engines were not easy to replace. Remember, by the time these were operational, we're getting towards the end of the war. And that meant a lack of not just qualified pilots, but qualified mechanics. Operationally, the aircraft could carry 2,000 liters of fuel in two 900-liter tanks, one fore and one aft of the cockpit, and a 200-liter tank beneath the cockpit. As a pilot, you are surrounded by explosive fuel. How comforting is that? Where's my airfield? Where is my airfield? Huh. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. There, I want to fly. I'm going to fly sort of an abbreviated sort of pattern thing in a desperate attempt to land this monster. Fuel was either coal-derived, brown coal-derived J2, or there was the option to use diesel oil or a mixture of oil and high-octane B4 aviation fuel, which is avgas today. Just imagine that. You're sitting... Not only are you sitting basically in the gas tank, what it amounts to, you're sitting in the gas tank of this aircraft. You've got engines that have very low reliability on each wing. That's scary. You have 30 millimeter cannon rounds, because you're running 4 30 millimeter MK108 cannons on here. You're basically a flying bomb. What it comes down to, you are a flying bomb. I've just noticed my fuel gauges. I'm hoping that they don't work, because if they do work, we're in trouble because I have no fuel. And my oil pressure is low. Well, that's never good. Jeez. Alright, so I'm going to throttle her way back here. Look at that. Alright, so I read about the attack procedures they would use. And some of this I found while I was reading the book called A Higher Calling, about a BF-109 pilot who doesn't shoot down a B-17 that's badly damaged. The 109 pilot goes on to fly the 262. The aircraft was so fast, they had to develop a brand new tactic. Head-on attacks did not work. Your closing rate was just way too fast. Top speed of this aircraft, 559 miles an hour. B-17 is traveling, give or take, 250. Your closing speed, give or take, 800 miles an hour. The window to shoot those 30 millimeters is just, boom, gone. So they had to develop new ways. Okay, spooling the engines way back right now. What they would do, well, and even from astern, even when you're coming up behind the aircraft, the closing rate just too great. So what they would do is they'd do a roller coaster attack. So they'd start high and behind, they'd go into a dive, rocket down through the little friends, the fighters supposed to protect the bombers. They'd be moving so fast the fighters couldn't do anything about this. Can I pop some air brakes, maybe? Things I do not have. Air brakes. That's nice. I got her throttled way back. And you got all kinds of, like, speed issues right now. Alright, we're going to go around for another loop around here. So you go rocketing through the enemy aircraft, or the Allied aircraft. Then when they were astern and below, they would then pull up, and that would bleed off a lot of their speed. And then if they timed it right, they could then level the aircraft out at astern, maybe about 1,000 meters, and overtaking at about 93 miles an hour. So you just have to do this kind of roller coaster thing. So you dive down and pull up and then level off. Very technical thing to do, but it was the only way they could actually get a good shot on the bombers. I would, if you're a big fan of aircraft, World War II aircraft, of humans acting humane, I'm a fan of all of those things. I would recommend reading A Higher Calling. I think I've recommended it before. I think when I did the BF-109 aircraft. Great book, definitely worth the read. So there, me promoting the book or something. Interestingly, for the 262 here, January 2003, the American Me262 project, based in Everett, Washington, completed flight tests to allow delivery of a near exact reproduction of several versions of the Me262. Now, instead of the terribly inefficient, terribly unreliable Junkers UMOs, they use GE CJ610 engines, which produce about equivalent thrust. We're high, but that's okay. We can do this. Now we're low. Whatever.
Pull up.
Oh, hush.
Sync rate.
All right, so now I got to spool these engines. I got to remember these engines are going to spool very slowly. We have it. You know, I have issues spooling jet engines anyway. This is going to be funny. Okay. Now I have no air brakes, so I'm going to kind of try this long approach. Now these aircrafts could land on grass strips because towards the end of the war, the aircraft was so fast, Allied fighters just couldn't take it out in air-to-air combat. So they would go after it on the ground. So to prevent losing all of their 262s, the Luftwaffe would land the aircraft in fields and park the aircraft in hangars or in barns. Look at that. Here we go. Oh, I made it. Brakes, 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 brakes. I know there's no reverse thrust on this. I don't know where you'd put reverse thrust. Whew, we made it. Come on, stop sometime. And stop. Shut down. Shut down. Open the cockpit. Woo. Come on, camera, catch up to us. We're on the ground now. There we go. This aircraft is a handful to fly. It was bucking and kicking a little bit on takeoff. This is actually the second time I've flown it. It's the second time I had to do this video. And the first time it was bucking and rolling and pitching a fit on climb out as well. And it's just a handful. Landing is difficult. You have to have a really gentle land. I'm surprised I made it because you have no air brakes. And the aircraft, the spooling of the engines is just such a long spool. You really have to think well ahead. Do I need power? Do I need to cut power? Because it takes all that time for the engines to respond. It's an interesting aircraft, and it's definitely a worthwhile aircraft to pick up. If you're interested in World War II aircraft, if you're interested in early jet aircraft, or just a challenging aircraft to fly, it would go good with the, what was that thing? The EF-126, I think, that I did before with the pulse jet engine. It would look really good flying with that. So definitely worthwhile. Link is down below. As always, I've been DerTebbers. This has been your Flight Simulator X Spotlight. Till next time, happy flying.